Hello, welcome to our video. It is a Vanlife video and lessons learned. And the video is of Cataract Gorge, and we're crossing it on a little chairlift. It's pretty fun, just a two-person chairlift, as you can see. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about where we went to start with. And actually, before I do, if you haven't seen our van tour video, go check that out, because it'll give a little bit more context on how we had our van set out and what we had in it. It was just my wife and myself. So go check that out if you haven't already. And also we have a bit more in-depth video on the engine modifications we did before we got it going. So check that video out as well. It'll be interesting, more so for the mechanically minded, but anyone can check it out if you want to. So obviously we went to Tasmania, and that's where this footage was taken. We actually started in Devonport, went over on the ferry and went sort of anti-clockwise, but we didn't go all the way to the west coast. It was a great trip and saw lots of stuff, and we will definitely be going back. We spent about nearly 8 weeks there. We did some regional Victoria trips as well, so Yakandanda and Bright, which is in the Alpine region of Victoria. Really nice place. Actually, Bright we really enjoyed. Went to Shepparton as well, and Shepparton is actually where SPC Canning Company is. If you're Australian, you'll know SPC. You would have seen it around the shops. We also went to Melbourne in Victoria too. That was only a short amount of time going to and from Tasmania on the ferry. In New South Wales, we spent a bit of time in Wagga Wagga, which is where we finished kitting out the van. And we were in Sydney for a while working to get a bit more cash for more travel. And the more travel was north coast of New South Wales, so between Port Macquarie and Byron Bay and back again. That was a great trip. It was in summer, so it was fairly humid, but that's what you get in that part of the world. So it took longer than expected for us to get going in our van. Around a year it took us after buying the van and then modifying it before we got going. And we learned a few things along the way, and if we do it again, we will definitely be making some changes. The first lesson we learned is that vans get hot when it's hot and they get cold when it's cold. We had a bit of insulation, however, we had windows almost all the way around. If you've seen the van tour video, you'll see what we mean. It was not a bad setup, but not a super extensive setup. So at nighttime, if it got cold, you would generally speaking be pretty cold by the early hours of the morning. However, you obviously bring blankets, especially for that. And towards the end of our travels, we ended up getting an electric blanket because that made it a bit nicer. Although when you do pull up at a place, you usually have been driving, so the heater's blaring, so the van stays warm for a couple hours after having the heater going. We just had a heater that blew back from the cabin into the back area of the van where the kitchen and bed was. So hot as well. So it does get hot in the van. For me, that was a little bit more frustrating because if there's no breeze outside, or it's a hot breeze, which wasn't too often, that you wouldn't be able to cool down very quickly in the van. You could run the air conditioning from the cabin, but again, that would not be the best thing sometimes. You couldn't really do that when it's raining too and muggy. Bit of a story. We went for a bushwalk once, and it was sort of about an hour or so bushwalk, and we got back to the van. It was in a location that was a little bit away from civilization, probably a good 5 k's from the closest farm. And we noticed some like shells on the ground that had been cracked open, like something had been eating from them. And then we saw a chicken on the ground. And this is like pretty far away from anything, so the chicken went walkabout, and something had been eating its eggs, probably a fox or something like that. So we thought, oh, we'll give it a bit of oats because that's all we had, and went on our way. Sort of felt like we should pick it up and give it to a farmer down the road, but anyhow, I hope the chicken lasted a little while after that. So another bit of tips we can give regarding stealth camping is, number one, don't pick a spot that's too quiet because it's more likely to be dodgy people to target you. But you don't want to stay in a place that's too loud, obviously, because you want to get some sleep. So finding that balance is a little bit hard sometimes. What we would do is we would turn up quite late to a place we'd already scoped out, and we leave early. And that would also be to do with not attracting too much unwanted attention and not making any more noise than we had to. So, along with that, we had a setup where we were able to crawl from the cabin to the back of the van without opening any doors or opening any lights, turning any lights on. So that made it really good for being able to just pull up, say 10, 11 at night, we're ready for bed, ready to go, jump in the back, we'd already brushed our teeth, all done, and then we could just jump straight into bed and go to sleep. So that was awesome. Another thing that made it good, but we would only use if we really had to, was having a porta potty. We had a little porta potty in our van, and that was really great for emergencies or if we really couldn't wait till the morning. We would try and camp near somewhere that had a bathroom, and we found a few spots like beach spots that had bathrooms open 24/7, which was super handy. Another thing to note on the stealth camping front, we were quite intentional about not camping where you're not allowed to, especially in the popular spots, because you will get fined. In Australia, there's a lot of stories about being fined for not camping. And in our local town, there's areas you can't camp as well, so all the locals know about those areas too, so someone dobbing you in is highly likely if there's signs saying you can't. I have a story about spiders, actually. We went to this campsite in Smithtown in Tasmania. It was a great site. It was free or gold coin donation. They had showers there, which is great. We try to shower whenever we stop, obviously picking places that have showers. And we stopped at this place. My wife got her stuff ready to have a shower. It was a lot of people at this place. Like the whole grounds were packed. We had to squeeze in between two other people set up. And she got out and she went to have a shower, and she came back, and I thought, what's going on? And she said, Jared, there's seriously so many spiders in there. I'm not going to shower in there. She said she tried to go into the shower booth, try to ignore the spiders, but it was just way too many to even ignore. I thought, oh no. She is scared of spiders, probably scared of spiders. So I thought, okay, I'll get my stuff and I'll have a shower. I want to have a shower. I think it'd been a day, skipping a day having a shower at that point. So I went in and, not joking, there was literally hundreds and hundreds of spiders, redbacks, things that you don't want to be bitten by. And nighttime, they were just alive. So it was quite nerve-wracking. I literally did not even go into the shower booth. I thought, this is crazy. I'm going to get bitten by redbacks. So at that point, that was like 2 days without a shower. So I think that was the longest we went, 2 or 3 days without a shower. Anyway, so that's one thing about van life isn't the best when you come across a spot that you think is going to be great for showering and washing when it's not. So we had two 20-litre water containers that did us for probably 3 days. In Australia, at most parks, there's bubblers that have accessibility for water to refill. So obviously you'd pick not a super busy time of day to be really refilling your water and attracting attention. But yeah, we found it quite good within Australia to get water. Only once did we have to filter the water we got, just because we weren't sure what water supply they had in that particular town. That was in Tasmania on the west coast that we had to filter it. But apart from that, if you're using town water, generally speaking in Australia, you're pretty right. Unless, of course, it's marked that you can't use it. Another story, we were in Derby in Tasmania, and their town is set up for mountain biking. It's so awesome. Done a decent amount of mountain biking myself, and I went out and said to my wife, probably about an hour and a half or so. I'd never been riding there, and I was by myself. There are like a few people on the trails, and it was sort of mid-afternoon when I left, so I didn't want to take too long for it to get dark. Anyway, so I set off, and I was following this path I wanted to follow, and I ended up going down this track it was an obvious track, but it didn't know sign markers, and I ended up just keep riding and riding and riding, and I ended up getting lost. And luckily I came across someone because the sun was starting to go down, and I thought, oh gee. Anyway, I asked him where to go, and I could see the town through the valley, and it was a long way away, but luckily I came across that dude and he directed me the right way. So that was a bit of fun, but it was okay. We have more tips to share and stories to tell about van life if you wish to listen to more. Thanks for watching.